Hey friends. So today we're going to talk about animal behavior, and the study of animal behavior is called ethology. Um, and essentially, behavior is responding to stimuli or what things animals do and why they do it, essentially. So, responses to stimuli, which is generally what behavior is called taxes. And these taxes are broken down into three different categories. And so that's reflexes and instinct and learned behavior. And reflexes, as you can see here, there's this little stick figure, which kind of is pointing to the fact where reflexes aren't something that when you respond to the stimuli, it goes up to your brain and then goes back out and you respond. A reflex is something that goes to your spinal cord, and your spinal cord just deals with the stimuli and then responds to it. And so, an example of this is when you go into the doctor and they take that little thing and they knock your knee, so it goes in through your nerves, the stimuli does. It goes to your spinal cord, which is showing here, and then it sends it back out, and then you kick. So it never actually goes up into your brain, and this is something that over time, we have evolved um, this adaptation to not need something to go all the way up to the brain. Um, And so the other two are instinct and learned behavior. And we're going to go a little bit deeper into both of these. And so these things are things that go into the brain and are from the brain, behaviors that animals or humans do. And as you can see there, that's the spinal cord. So instinct is something that you're born doing, something that you didn't learn, but you were born. It's kind of the nature or nurture, it's the nature side. So it's something that you were born doing. An example is this lovely sea turtle here. This is a green sea turtle. His name is Pooh, like Pooh Bear. And I met him at the rehabilitation hospital. And he loves butt scratches. But anyway, turtles, sea turtles specifically, they remember or they know deep down where they're supposed to go to mate and then where they're supposed to go lay their eggs. And they will lay their eggs in the exact same beach that their mother did where they were born. So that knowing where to go is an instinctual um, behavior. What we're also going to watch here is another type of instinctual behavior. And this is a fixed action pattern. You don't need to know that. But what you do need to know or do need to recognize is what this goose is doing. So watch, he puts the egg in, and it's an instinctual response to pull the egg in towards himself to keep the egg safe. But you can see if he removes it, he continues to do the response. So it's essentially just to show you that um, an instinctual thing is not something that we're taught. It is something that we are born with. Babies are born and they immediately start crying, so that's something that they are born doing. So learned behavior is not something you were born doing. Instead, it was something that you have been taught. And so one thing that's pretty obvious is that people learn by watching. So monkey see, monkey do. Um, they learn by watching. Another way that we learn is by insight. And so insight is not um it's not trial and error. It is that immediate like eureka. It's figuring out something in your head ahead of time and then doing it. Um that is insight. And then the last part of learned behavior is conditioning. And conditioning or classical conditioning was originally discovered by Pavlov, which you can see a beautiful bearded picture of him on the right here. And he discovered that when he presents his dog with food, they salivate, so they drool. And when he presents his dog with a bell, it doesn't drool. But he decided to put together to condition the bell and the food together so that the bell on itself, or the bell by itself, the conditioned response, would promote saliva. So after many, many, many times of calling him over with the bell, feeding him with the bell, that bell started to condition into a response of the drooling. So that's classical conditioning. Operant conditioning is that trial and error. So it's, the rat in the maze. It's going down a certain way, finding a lever, pulling the lever, getting a treat. And then that's a reward that increases the behavior. And then there's also punishments that increase or to decrease certain behaviors. So if say they didn't want it to pull the lever, it would zap them a little bit. That would be a punishment to decrease the behavior of I don't want them to pull that. And so it's remembering, oh, if I pull this lever, I'll get a treat. And so they start to learn, okay, pull this lever, get a treat. And then you can also reverse it and start, triggering the zap. So pull this lever, I got a treat. Oh, nope, now it zaps me. So I shouldn't do that. So that's learning, okay, I shouldn't do that anymore because it's going to hurt me. Okay, and the last part of conditioning is called habituation. So the name, the explanation of what habituation is kind of in the name. Habit is in the name. So habituation is essentially something that a stimuli that originally you notice and you respond to, but over time you're habituated to it and you no longer react to it. So I grew up behind the Apex High School, and every Friday night, Thursday and Friday night, there was loud noises coming from the football going on at the high school behind our house. And I remember growing up and being kept awake by this noise, all the cheering, the announcer, all that stuff. But over time, it didn't bother me anymore. I didn't notice it anymore because I had become habituated to the stimuli of the noises. So over time, habituation happens to stimuli. Okay, this is an instinctual behavior. So now we're on to instinct. And this is something that we were born with, right? So that this is something that we were born with, and somebody who, not us necessarily, but imprinting is something that Konrad Lorenz discovered when he was working with geese. And so this is a period of time in an animal's life where they're imprinted upon. It's very early in their lives. And we're going to watch a quick video about what Konrad Lorenz did with his geese. And so watch the geese in this video. Oops, hold on. I messed it up. Give me 1 second. Okay, watch the geese and how they follow him wherever they go. You know how little baby geese follow their mother geese? So they've imprinted their parent, like the parenthood in their mind, onto Konrad, onto Lorenz. And so they follow him everywhere. It is the cutest thing. It's not necessarily good for their survival to follow this man around, but following their mom around is a good thing for them to know instinctually to survive. And so this is something that they are born being able to do. Okay. So that's imprinting, which is an instinctual behavior. So social behaviors can be both nature and nurture. They can be both learned and instinctual, okay? So something that is one social behavior is a territory defense. So mockingbirds, if you know what they are freaking annoying. They dive bomb anything that comes within their territory because their territory includes where they eat, where they mate, where they keep their young. And so they defend that territory. That's a social behavior. Courtship is another social behavior, and we're going to watch another little short video on that. And this is my favorite example of courtship.
Unfortunately, this small Japanese pufferfish is dull, almost to the point of invisibility. But to compensate, he is probably nature's greatest artist. To grab a female's attention, he creates something that almost defies belief. His only tools are his fins.
I'll skip forward a little bit because we're running low on
In
time.
his head, a plan of
But he perfectly plans this out
of his construction.
and makes, let me see where the picture is of the finished product. It's awesome. Okay, here we go. He makes these intricate patterns in the sand that he has to constantly fix because the currents make it go away. And he does this to attract a mate. So cool. Let's go back to the slides. So another one is hierarchy, and hierarchy is what is shown within wolves. So there's like an alpha male and an alpha female, and everything with social behavior, communication is key. So the pufferfish communicates by his what he designs. The mockingbird communicates by its annoying noise and dive bombing. And then hierarchy, they communicate. I mean, wolves communicate in a lot of different ways. There's barking and body language, but there's also pheromones. Pheromones is a big one. One really cool way that bees communicate with each other is through something called a waggle dance. And I'll show you a little clip of that here. So they waggle back and forth, and then they go around in a circle, and then they waggle again. And this is telling the other worker bees, okay, food is this many meters, and this angle, this direction from the sun. And it is so intricate that they can pinpoint it down so closely to where exactly the food source is. So that's a really cool way that they communicate. Ants communicate by leaving hormonal scents behind. And so then they can follow each other and find out where the food is. Territory marking, like I talked about before a little bit. Pheromones, like your dog goes out and it marks, all the areas, it pees on everywhere. So it's saying this area is mine. That is one way that animals communicate with each other. There are also rhythmic behaviors, and some of those, one you're familiar with probably, is the circadian rhythm, which is the sleep-wake cycle. And so that's, sleeping at night and waking during the day. And then there's annual rhythm, so that's hibernation and estivation, like this cute bear right here. They hibernate during the wintertime. Estivation is animals that hibernate during the summertime, during the hot months. So that happens to a lot of desert animals. And photoperiodism is a flowering cycle. So there's certain pigments that are available for flowers that trigger when they're going to flower.